Sly Cooper, he's one cunning, devious, thievius raccoonus. Rated E for everyone.
Welcome back to Retro Rebound. In today's video, we are stealing one of the PlayStation 2's best video games ever. When I think PlayStation 2, I think Sly Cooper instantly. It is easily, hands down, without a shadow of a doubt, my favorite ever PlayStation IP. And it's why I'm extremely depressed that that series is still dead, on a cliffhanger no less. But we'll get to that in due time, pardon the pun. Today, I want to talk about Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus, a game that you look at and think it's an innocent 3D platformer, but as I went back to it for the millionth time, I peeled back the layers, I looked at the themes, I listened to the music, I paid closer attention to the story than ever before, and I've come away with something that I never expected to think before. But when you look at Sly Cooper, you'd be forgiven for thinking it's a children's game series. Oh, you have cool animals running around and they're committing heists and it's very playful and fun. But as I get older, there are parts of the game that I appreciate more and more as an adult beyond just nostalgia. It's not just a series that I think is really good because I grew up with it. It's one that time has always been favorable toward. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have to remove my mask so you can kind of try to take me seriously here, but don't worry, the Sly Cooper cap, it's staying on as we dive deep into Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here and you're into nostalgic retrospective content, we're going to be talking a lot about Sly as we're going to do retrospectives for every single Sly Cooper game. Consider subscribing, and before anything else, a quick word from today's sponsor. The following video is brought to you by Pinecone Research. Ladies and gentlemen, we love a good side hustle, right? You want to make some money answering some questions? Let me tell you a bit about Pinecone Research. This is a website that's exclusive invite only, meaning that once you get invited, you can answer some questions while killing some time, like for me, while I'm sitting there watching my dog play with a couple of toys. He's a little puppy, got to keep an eye on him. And so I'll open up my phone, open up Pinecone Research, and just answer a few questions. They have exclusive opportunities and a guaranteed payout amount for every single task that you end up completing. And my link is your way in. So you click that link and there's your exclusive invite there on a silver platter. So Pinecone is a great life hack. It's also a great side hustle. So start earning some money today. The way you can do that is by clicking the link in the description right now, and you can sign up to answer some questions over on Pinecone and earn a little money doing so. Shout out to Pinecone Research for sponsoring today's video. There's a lot of things that define Sly Cooper. The art style, the gameplay mechanics, the story being surprisingly really good and dark beneath it all. But what I want to actually start off with is sound. To me, Sly Cooper is defined by its sound more than anything else. And that was one of the key things I picked up on in my return. Firing it up, it was things like the footsteps, the sound that's made when you're picking up coins, but not just little itsy bitsy effects like this. It's also the supremely impressive voice work. You know, when we think of older games, and we've covered many of them here, by the way, we've highlighted oftentimes how hilariously bad voice acting could be in video games. I think of something like the Raimi Spider-Man games.
No, I haven't found out anything. Don't call back.
Charming in its own way, yes, but if you were looking at it as a critic, so to say, you'd go, yeah, that really isn't that great. That's not what we're looking for in a game trying to take itself seriously. But with Sly Cooper, the voice direction was always fantastic, intentionally so with characters like Bentley, who sound like absolute dorks.
These walls are making me claustrophobic.
All the way to Sly Cooper, who sounds very mysterious, very much confident.
Hey Bentley, I think I'm seeing things. Must be vertigo or something.
And even the villains that they portray throughout the series.
This is impossible. A little pipsqueak like you beating a big, strong bruiser like me?
I was wondering why, with Sly Cooper having very clear villains throughout each of the game, why I cared about what I'd call the mini villains, right? The build up to the final one that's been hiding in the shadows all along. And it's because of the way the game presents itself. You see, Sly Cooper has always had a format. You start an episode, you see a little bit of an animated reel giving some brief backstory to this character that's holding down this area. And as you go mission to mission, you learn more and more about their backstory and who they are and the operation they're running and why we as thieves are stealing from this other criminal. And the reason that Sly Cooper and his gang do this is because you know you truly won when you stole from a criminal, which I think is an awesome premise in general. That's where some of the maturity creeps in. But the reason these villains rule is also because of their insanely ridiculously good voice work. It's not just how they're presented within these cutscenes, which are highly stylish and have aged like fine wine. It's because the characters are so bombastic and full of life and have ridiculous accents attached to them that it's something that's become a Sly Cooper staple when you really look at the beginning of the series and how that's been something that's there all the way until the very end. But it's also the music. And I have to say that when I was thinking of Sly Cooper, atmosphere is not really the first word to come to mind. I usually think of Fallout 3 when I say the word atmosphere, but there's no denying that the game has a strong grasp on its tone. I think of when you're roaming the swamps of Haiti and you hear this foreboding track that really captures the isolation and the loneliness of the villain who is patrolling this particular biome. I don't know, maybe I'm looking at it a little too deep compared to other people out there, but I just feel like there's more than what meets the eye with Sly Cooper every single step of the way in this series, and it begins with its sound to me. I just think of the effects that define all the little things you're doing, and then the characters that are so well captured. But make no mistake, the visual presentation goes an extremely long way with all of that. It's those stylized cutscenes that set up the villain and the arc you're about to embark on, all the way down to things like the Binocucom, where you pull it out and it's this almost walkie-talkie, kind of like a cooler, more cartoony version of what happens in Metal Gear, is what Sly Cooper's doing. But what happens is they attempt to connect the gameplay and the story tools in a really intelligent way. Some are kind of hand-waved away, like the aura you see in Sly Cooper, where you can like do a ninja spire, for example. They tried to kind of, you know, make some sense of that, and it's those moments it's ridiculous. However, there are times that you have something like the Binocucom, which eventually in Sly 2 you pull out and you can use to spot all various mission objectives and keep track of your collectibles, and you'll get gradual upgrades in Sly 1, which we'll talk about, which can then bump up your usage for the Binocucom to find, say, mystery bottles. It's just awesome how everything's interconnected on a visual front, and obviously the sound really lifts it all up, in my opinion. But the story itself is no snooze. It's tragic, actually, at its start. You have this would-be talented thief who ends up orphaned because his father was killed by a gang that wanted to steal the Thievius Raccoonus, and it provides the perfect motivator for the type of Sly you see in the first game. When you look at how Sly matures from 1 to 3 to Thieves in Time, it's actually a very surprising arc, because when you listen to the dialogue in the first game, he's very threatening, he's very aggressive. That's not the Sly Cooper that you kind of see in Sly 2 after he's kind of overcome the challenges of the first game. But now he's revisiting a bit of his, if you will, trauma. And I just, again, think that this is a series where there's more than what meets the eye. This series does go into dark places, especially, and we'll talk about in a separate video, the ending of Sly 2. But we're talking about Sly 1 here. And to me, it's just the way that they have this character that appears more kid-friendly and can be kid-friendly. I think of it like an episode of SpongeBob, right? You have the kid-level humor, and then you watch an episode as an adult, and you're like, how did they get away with that? I think of it the same way as Sly Cooper. I played it as a kid. I loved it for what it was. Yay, 3D platforming, characters look cool, fun collectibles, awesome story. But then you go in as an adult, you're like, whoa. Yeah, like you really see, like his dad got brutally murdered in front of his eyes, and he's on a quest for vengeance by stealing back and making these people pay. Is he breaking their knees and whatnot? No, but he wants to make them pay nonetheless. And I find that compelling because you really don't see him on a quest for vengeance in any other part of the series. And it's what makes him almost this anti-hero at certain points in the series, where he's clearly a guy you want to root for, and he's a good guy for most of it all, but you look at like his relationship with Carmelita Fox and how, you know, they clearly like each other, but they can't really be together because he's a criminal, he's kind of your Robin Hood, if you will, and she, wants to put him behind bars.
I don't get it, Cooper. I've hunted you for years, tried to throw you behind bars, but when you get a chance to leave me in a cage, you set me free. Why?
I have much to say on the gameplay, but of course we have to get into what is absolutely a phenomenal complete in box experience here because, look, I'm just gonna tease you all right here. Look at this manual. It's the Thievius Raccoonus. And here we have a complete in box copy of Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. It should be noted that some people debate whether or not the greatest hits version looks better than this right here. I like the simplicity of the original Black Label copy. Now you can get Sly Cooper 1 in other ways, such as the Sly Collection, which you can get on PlayStation Vita and PlayStation 3. This is my preferred place to play them. The Vita version, what you should be warned about is that 1 and 2 come on a cartridge, but here's Sly 3, if that's your favorite. It is a download, so if it's not already attached to your account, you'll see here on the back that the time to redeem it is far beyond expired. So if you didn't get it, that's it. So Sly 3 on Vita, pretty rare. But those are two ways that you can experience the game. It's my preferred way of doing so, but there's nothing wrong with the original copy here. So let's go through what is a marvelous complete in box experience, starting off with the back of the box. There's a new thief in town. Spotlights, alarms, and infrared lasers. Rooftop chases, narrow escapes, and dodging security guards. Sly Cooper, the notorious international thief, is out to reclaim what is rightfully his, prepared to infiltrate the most secure places in the world. Grabbing priceless jewels and emptying casinos, it's like taking candy from a baby. He's one cunning, devious, Thievius Raccoonus. Just really fun on the back here, and you'll see just E for everyone, mild violence, which makes my analysis of the story probably look a little ridiculous, but look, man, when you got this many years to think on the game, a lot of dots start connecting. So with that, let's crack it open. You'll see here, beautiful discard of Sly jumping with the moon in the background, but this is what we're here for, the Thievius Raccoonus, with some slips that we'll get into, but look at that. Absolutely a beautiful work of art here. This is why PlayStation got sucker punched. You're like, what? You made this manual? Okay, no problem. Here's your money. Join the PlayStation family. This book belongs to Sly Cooper. See, this reminds me a little bit of one of my favorite ever manuals, Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb. Just really cool stuff because it's stylized. It's designed to mimic the Thievius Raccoonus and give it that feel. You'll see here like paper clips all along the side with little stitched in details and quotes like, "I've got these moves down pat. Thanks for watching my back, Bentley," says Sly. Or you have Bentley here saying, "If you got a hold of the information, you need to start your adventure, so read it carefully, Sly." Just little things like that go a really long way in making a cool manual here. From the desk of Bentley, and it breaks down all of Sly's moves, which is kind of fitting because throughout the game, you hear a lot of jump and press the circle button.
Just jump and hit the circle button.
It's great that it's from the desk of Bentley because he's always teaching you how to play the game. You see here, like, little blueprints on the animation for climbing ladders, for stealing things with the cane, fighting with the cane, the little quotes, the back and forth between Sly and Bentley. It's awesome. It's just, I love this type of stuff because it really feels like I'm holding a piece from the game. I mean, look at this even. It feels like I'm looking in on what they were doing when developing Sly Cooper and like how they were putting together the animations and what it would look like. It's just really, really cool stuff. So continuing on deeper here, using the cane, grabbing, hanging and swinging, attacking, climbing. It's just all conversations with Sly and Bentley throughout the entire manual, which I think is really cool. Water, the amount of lives. I love this picture right here. Just some kind of iconic stuff there. Like when you look up the OST, that's the image that's attached, and it's a very much Sly Cooper image. Checking out the surroundings, you know, of course, camera usage was kind of new by this point in time, you know, the fully rotating camera. And then you have vaults and clues, advanced techniques that you'd unlock from those vaults, thievery at its best. So they tell you about the auras here, you know, the opportunities for master thieves and how they can only see them. Battling the Fiendish Five, the many boss fights in the game, which I think are pretty cool. And collectibles here. This is also a 3D platformer. And something I really appreciate is that they have so many different types of collectibles with different uses. There's not just the clue bottles. There's things like the keys, the gold coins. The gold coins are useful because if you get hit once, that's it, you're gonna die. But if you get enough gold coins by 100, you get a horseshoe on your back. A second time around, if you don't get hit, you get a second horseshoe. So now you have 2 hits you can absorb. And then every time you get another 100 coins with those 2 horseshoes, you get extra lives. So it kind of incentivizes you to do perfect runs of the levels so you can stack lives, which again, I just found so compelling. It's simple, but it works. Continuing through here, we have more of the manual navigating the map, more awesome Sly Cooper art, more awesome breakdowns of things Sly can do. Here we have hot vehicles for cool thievery. This kind of highlights some of the stuff we're going to talk about in the gameplay section. Wanted, Sir Rowley, Fiendish 5, Chief Machinist, and it breaks down some of the Fiendish 5, and it's the dossier for each of them. Look at that. Mugshot. You have Ms. Ruby, Panda King, cool full circle moment there in Sly 3, naturally. Clockwork, and of course Clockwork being the most popular villain in all of Sly Cooper. And then you have the credits in the back here. Nothing really else, a notes page, and that's it. Just incredible manual. And then you also have this little slip that comes with it for PlayStation Underground surveys and whatnot that you could fill out. So really awesome complete in-box copy there for Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. It actually gets better, especially Sly 3 with the 3D glasses. We'll talk about that in due time, but now let's get into that gameplay. Now, on the gameplay front, what I was very complimentary of is when it comes to Sly Cooper and its progression. You see, there was a gradual evolution of that, but nowadays in games, it's all about instant gratification. Everything that's going to be in the game is marketed to you. Every little mechanic is given to you right like that. And if it's not given to you right like that, it's in a skill tree. Like, there's no creative way of approaching progression. But going back to Sly 1, it does something that I think is the best in the entire series, and it is that progression. Every level has, as it always does in the series, its own set of clue bottles. The difference here is it's not like Sly 2 or 3 or Thieves in Time where the hubs have clue bottles, and then the missions themselves, you can maybe stumble into a clue bottle or 2 throughout them, but the idea being that Sly 1 had dedicated clue bottles per mission. The reason that's important is because when you went and found them all, some more difficult than others, you would be able to access a safe. Now, it was weird at times. There were moments safes were like tucked away, hidden in certain parts of the level, which made sense, right? It's a safe holding a very important key from the Thievius Raccoonus. Like, we want to keep that page safe and away from seeing eyes. But at times it was weird to find all of the clue bottles at the end of the level and then track back to the middle or sometimes even beginning of the level to open up the safe. I get the idea was multiple run-throughs to find them all and whatnot, but for me, I pretty much for every mission, and granted, I've played this game a lot, found them all immediately every time, so doubling back was kind of annoying. But my ultimate point here is when you find these pages, they add layers onto moves. It's not just here's a new move, here's a new move, here's a new move, but every time you collect a new page, you might, for example, get an upgrade to Dive. Dive is a move that does exactly what it sounds like. You get some range, so Sly can sometimes use it to evade or take down an enemy from a distance, but it can get an upgrade where when you jump and press the dive button, you will break boxes and then the coins will float towards you. Coins don't just float towards you in this game, you have to find the upgrade for that. But the way they present the upgrades are done in a way that fits really well with finding the clues. Bentley puts together all the clues to give you the code to the safe that then gives you the page of the Thievius Raccoonus, and you learn from your ancestors. I also just think that the lore in this game is so insanely deep, which is hilarious to say, but it's really thanks to a game we'll talk about eventually, Sly Cooper Thieves in Time. It's there that it'll feel like a real full circle moment, because there's, you know, Sir Rowley Cooper and Ryochi Cooper, and you're like, oh, okay, you know, cool, I like that there are other Coopers, got it. But when they come to life in Thieves in Time is when it's that mind-blowing moment for at least kid me playing that game in high school. I just couldn't believe what Sanzaru had pulled off, even if there's that cliffhanger. Anyway, I just love the sense of progression in Sly Cooper Thievius Raccoonus. The way you unlock and move things forward is in a way that games just don't do nowadays. Not just because, oh, I wish they went back to the old ways. It felt like I had to earn it. It felt creative. It was fun to find the clue bottles and unlock an upgrade that wasn't just an item in some obscure menu. It was an actual thing in the world, which is, again, what Sly Cooper does so well. You're interacting with stuff that's in the game world, not in menus. But the base gameplay itself has always been great. It's a little slippery nowadays. It feels a little more tightened up on, say, your Sly collection on PS3 or Vita. However, I have to say that I do prefer the Sly 2 and Sly 3 movement and camera. You can change the camera settings here in Sly 1, so that is pretty good, but it's very clearly Crash Bandicoot inspired with a little more three-dimensional, like the early Crash games were just, you know, camera fixed behind and you're running in one direction, and you get a lot of that here. But that's where, again, the style, the visual flair of each hub and what you're doing and how you interact with it makes it a lot more fun. And plus, there's a ton of, if you will, mini games packed into them, whether it be driving around in a race as Murray or trying to ride around in a boat to capture oil fish that then light fires, that can then light certain torches out in a swamp. There's a lot of ridiculous ones. And of course, if you played Sly 3, you know how crazy they get. But this was just the beginning of a series that will continue to see iteration and evolution that I don't think many series have done quite as well as Sly Cooper. So that's why this game is special. It's why it's worth playing to this year. It really is. It's not just I'll get to it. It's a quick run through. I mean, granted, again, I've played these games a multitude of times, so it's much quicker for me. Like, you can get to the 50% mark in maybe 2 hours in my book. But for others, maybe it takes an extra hour or two. It's not a long game though. And I just love that you can go back again and again and again and continue to appreciate the layers and layers that are laid upon it. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's what Sly Cooper in 2023 is like. A fantastic time. Cannot recommend it enough. And with that, I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on Sly Cooper down below, my fellow thieves. So with that, take great care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next Retro Rebound. Peace out.